Hi everyone, my name is Carole Garrison with Carole's Creative Escape. Today I want to talk to you a little bit about the Whale of a Time suite, which is found on pages 94 to 96 in the annual catalog. And I'll show you the products in just a moment that are included in that suite. After I've done doing that, I would like to share with you the directions for making this beautiful little swing fold card utilizing products from this suite. This is one of those cards that looks like you've put a lot of effort into making it, but in the end, it really is a very simple card to make. So the Whale of a Time suite includes the Whale Done photopolymer stamp set. There are 5 greetings. Thanks a ton, Whale Done. My love for you is bigger than the ocean. You're kind of a big deal, and hoping all your birthday fishes come true. It also includes 9 images, little bubbles, a heart, and then some of the sea life that you would see. Again, it is a photopolymer stamp, so it's very easy to place and stamp these images. The suite also includes the Whale Builder Punch, which I mentioned earlier. And this includes the body of the whale, that white underbelly, a fin, and some water spouts and an eyeball. And it allows you to build a whale similar to this. In addition, you can punch out whales from a couple sheets of the designer paper. So if you want a quick on-the-go project, right here you've got 5 different colored whales that you can punch out simply by using this punch, and you're good to go to start decorating your card. I kind of use different colors here than a whale would normally be, just so that you could see the different pieces and how they go together for assembling the whale. So very versatile, easy to use punch. There is also designer series paper, and with this you get 48 sheets, which is 4 sheets of 12 different double-sided designs. So you get 4 sheets each of the double-sided designs. So the first sheet is the jellyfish and all sorts of brightly colored images with a darker green, kind of ferny, seaweedy looking background. And then there is a sheet that's got basically all of the mammals included in this. Your whale, your sea turtle, jellyfish, crab, little seahorses. And on the back side, it's kind of a water image. And then we've got this scenic image, which is basically got the sun shining through. And you can see the ocean bottom. So there'd be some really cool things you could do, both in terms of scrapbooking and also in terms of creating cards. Backside of that is a school of fish on the darker green toned paper. This is, I think, one of my favorite images on the paper is a swish of sea turtles swimming through. And then on the backside of that is it is the granny apple green seaweedy type looking thing. We've got another fun image with the fish kind of circling around. I think this would be really cool with some kind of snorkeling picture or something like that in there. And the back side of this is a calypso coral, good background image. Then we've got this sheet with the whales, and this is one of the sheets in the packet that you can punch out using your whale builder punch to get the whales. And it also includes another scene thing. What's nice about this is you could cut it in half and have 2 different borders on your card, so you can really get good bang for your buck on that. The next piece of paper is a seaweed type background, and on the back side of that are a bunch of little fishes. Kind of reminds me of the Dr. Seuss book, 1 fish, 2 fish, red fish, blue fish. We have another scenic piece, again cut it in half, and you've got 2 borders. One half has the little crabs and seashells, the other half would just be the seaweed, and that is a calypso corally type background. Then we've got another sheet with the whales, and again there's a bunch of multicolored whales swimming through that. These whales also work in the Whale Builder Punch, so you can punch those out. And it's got kind of an ombre in the blue tones of a water image with the waves. My second favorite piece of paper in here are just the sea turtles. Love the expression on this little turtle right here. And on the back side of that is the bumblebee, and again it's a fairly neutral, good background piece of paper. We've got one that has seahorses, and on the back side of that are the green tone ombre, kind of watery, wavy type look. And then the last piece of designer paper is another scene. It's got the sun kind of shining down through the center, creating a lighter image there. And this happens to be the piece that we are going to use in our card today. And on the back side, it's got the bumblebee swimming fish scene on it. In addition to these items, there is the Seabed 3D embossing folder. And this is a very deep embossing image that gets left behind. It looks like this, so you can see the detail that comes through with the seaweed and coral and different things that show up on that. It's just a beautiful, beautiful embossing folder. Included in the suite also is a 3/8 inch sheer ribbon in Pool Party. Looks, maybe I'll put it on my paper and you can see it better. Very translucent, which makes it go with a lot of colors that are in this suite. And this ribbon is really nice. It ties bows very easily. So even for me, who usually cheats and uses a bow making machine that my dad built for me, I can tie a pretty decent bow with this ribbon. And then finally, included in this is the Whale of a Time sequins. And these are just multicolored sequins. There's some darker blues, greens, kind of white. They're opally iridescent type things. And then there's also some pink seashells in there as well as some gold sequins. So a great way to jazz up a little bit on your projects as you're working on them. So what I'd like to do is get started on the instructions and walk you through the making of this card. The first thing that I'm going to do is finish up the turtles. I've already fussy cut 4 turtles out of the designer series paper, and I took different sizes, different colors, so I'd have a collection of that. And I like to add a little bit of sparkle to my turtles. So I'm going to put them in just an old box lid that I have. Actually, that one has already got sparkle on it. And I'm going to be using the Frost White shimmer paint that we have in the catalog. And I mix that into a spritzer with about maybe 5 to 6 drops of the shimmer paint and filled up about 2/3 full with alcohol. Just shake it up a little bit. And then lightly spritz the paper. And this just adds a shimmer. You'll see that the turtles kind of curl up and stuff as they've gotten hit with the alcohol, but because I've used alcohol in here, it dries very quickly, and these will be ready to go when I'm set to adhere them to my card. So in order to make this card, the pieces that you're going to need include a Pacific Point piece of paper that is 5.5 by 8.5, scored at 4 1/4. And we're just going to fold this in half and burnish it with our bone folder. You want to have nice crisp crease put into that. And I always double check my cards to see if there's any overhang. This one is actually pretty good, but it does overhang just a teeny bit. So I'm going to make my front the piece that overhangs, and that way you don't see it on the card. The next piece that you need is a 5-inch by 8-inch piece of Whisper White paper, scored at 2 inches, 4 inches, and 6 inches. Now, you may have heard recently that Stampin' Up! Is not selling Whisper White paper anymore. The reason for that is that the vendor that we had that manufactured our Whisper White paper unfortunately went out of business as a result of COVID. And so Stampin' Up! Has been working with other vendors, has tested out some paper with demonstrators, and has come up with another vendor to provide us with our paper. And the name is going to transition from Whisper White to Basic White. There will be more information posted as far as availability and that type of thing. But for right now, we need a 5 by 8 piece of Whisper White paper, again scored at 2, 4, and 6. The final piece that we need is the designer series paper cut at 4 inches by 5 1/4. Now, because I'm using a scene paper, I want to make sure that I'm cutting it to maximize the scenery on my card front. And so I need 5 1/4 inches. This is a 6-inch piece of paper. So what I did was simply trim off, in fact, I'll put it this way so it shows up better. Trimmed off 3/8 of an inch on one side and 3/8 of an inch on the other side. So that gave me my 5 1/4 inch width. And then I just cut 2 inches off the top of the paper. And that way I maximized the scenery that I have on the paper that I'm going to be working with. All right, so the first thing that you want to do with this card is, believe it or not, there it is. I thought I lost my card base. What we're going to do is take our stamp and seal, and we're going to put tape get it started again. Sorry about that. We're just going to run tape around the edges. And then we're also going to make just kind of an X in the center of the paper because we want that to adhere for the next piece of the card. So this we're going to put on the front, just center it on that square. Oh, I had some tape on my finger there. And then what we're going to do is take the largest die cut circle from the Stitched Shapes die set, and we want the largest one, and we're going to die cut that center out. That's how we get this piece and then that opening in there as well. So I'm going to turn around real quick and do my die cut. And what you end up with then is this opening here, and you've got this circle that's got the Pacific point on the background. And eventually we're going to be attaching it back to the card. Okay, the next thing that we're going to do, we will set that aside. We're going to take our 5 by 8 inch piece of white paper, and we're going to be stamping our inside images, the seaweed, the coral, and our phrase. So to start with, I'm going to stamp our seaweed with shaded spruce, and I'm doing this just so it has a time to dry before I come back in with the coral. So I've got the shaded spruce ink pad. And I will start by doing the bigger image, just gently tapping it onto my ink pad and stamping it. And I just realized that I don't have my foam pad underneath it to give me better images. So I'm going to do that before I do any more stamping. We'll take the little seaweed image and add that. Oh dear. Look at that. I got some edges. All right, hang on with me one more second. I'm going to quick cut a new piece of paper because I do not want images like that. So again, what I'm cutting is a 5 by 8 inch piece of paper. So I'm going to line it up instead of opening that arm up, line it up just to take a 1/2 inch off the edge. And then I will score it at 2 inches, 4 inches, and 6 inches. Okay, right back where we were. Normally I would just stamp on the back side, but because of the shape of this card, I'm not able to do that. So I will use that white for scraps on something else. Give my blocks a quick wipe on the chamois here so that I get rid of those edges. Yeah, this still has some on it. Sometimes straight ink becomes just like a drop of syrup. It goes everywhere. All right, back to using our shaded spruce. We'll tap it on the ink pad. stamp it back on. I'm going to take our little piece of seaweed and add that image. And I'm done with the shaded spruce, and because I tend to be a messy inker, I'm going to close those up and get rid of them. I'm going to take my Pacific Point ink pad and open that up, and I will stamp my words. And I don't know if you've noticed, but I put my words on my blocks crooked, and I do that on purpose. I found that when I tried lining them up on my black, I spent more time making sure the block was straight when I was stamping an image, so that if my image was even a little bit off, oftentimes then my words were crooked. So for me, it just worked easier to make sure that I was had the words crooked, and then that's what I focused on straightening. I want to show a little tip too that I learned on the newer ink pad versions. Some people have issues opening them up there. They tend to get ink on them. So with these, if you just press your thumbs in the corners away from you, they pop right open and you can flip it. So just another quick tip on that. And then I'm going to use my Calypso Coral ink to stamp the coral. And I'm just putting a couple of these images on here to add some color to the card. And that is it for the stamping. So we'll get this ink to dry. I'm going to pull my turtles back out so that they're ready for us to use. And the next thing that we want to do is to start assembling our card. So with this piece, what you need to do is fold this down, burnish it. You want to have good crisp fold lines on this part because the card is going to be opening up. And then this piece, these two you're folding down. This one you're folding back onto itself so that when you're all done, the shape that you have is like this. And what we're going to do is we'll be attaching this piece face down right up to the score line. But the thing that you need to be careful of when you're taping it is that you don't really want tape anywhere in the inside of that circle. So as you're taping it, you just want to do the very outside edges of this top piece. And so now what I'm going to do is work to line it up. Again, right up next to that score line, centered, and press it down. And then I just kind of do a quick rub across the back to make sure it's adhered well. And then what we've got is this look. The next thing that I'm going to do is adhere the back piece to the card. And so what I do is run my tape runner just to get some tape. It's folded in half onto itself. And I'm just going to fold the card back over on it and rub it down. And then that way it opens up just like I need it to. The final step in terms of attaching our circle, and you'll notice that the circle is only attached halfway so that the top half of it, you can see the back of it, and it is attached on the inside. So we don't want to put any tape here. We want it all down here. And so what I'm going to do is instead of trying to guess halfway on my circle, I'm just simply going to put my tape inside the lower half of the circle. And that way I know I'm not getting it anywhere it isn't supposed to be. And then what you'll do is line your image up, put it down, and press on that bottom part. And ta-da! You now have the swing in there that we're looking for. So the final pieces of putting this card together will involve decorating it. And I'm going to use 3 of the sea turtles, and I think I'm going to go with these 3. And I may end up, yeah, you know what? I'm going to make a decision here, and I'm going to put this guy in the inside of the card. Yeah, I'll just put him up here kind of floating around in the water. And that adds a little bit of decoration inside too. For these 3 turtles, I am going to use mini dimensionals to attach them. And I know there's some people that use lots and lots of dimensionals. I love dimensionals, but I tend not to use huge numbers on my items. I use them frequently, but not tons and tons on my individual pieces. And as I'm putting these on, I just want to make sure that the turtles aren't going off the circle at all, because that will impact the swinging of the card. And so we're going to make sure that we just stay inside kind of the stitch line of this particular die. I just love the face on this turtle. And so there we've got our turtles and kind of a little shimmery sort of a thing. And the final decoration that I want to put on here is for my sequins. And what I'm going to use is my Take Your Pick tool and mini glue dots. And I'm just going to put glue dots onto my, I have cat hair. If you see me pulling stuff out, it's cat or dog hair usually on my cards, and I try not to send too much of that with them. And I'm just kind of randomly placing glue dots where I'm going to attach sequins. There's no right or wrong spot. Kind of however you want. I find with each card I do it a little bit different. It just depends, I think, probably more on my mood than anything else. One doesn't want to come off. All right. And then I'm going to just pick out some sequins from inside here that I can put down on my glue dots. All right. It wants me to use a seashell apparently, so we will put a little seashell down here. And I'm going to add a pretty blue sequin there. These are all kind of iridescent, so the colors sort of change as you put them on depending on what's around it. And there are some smaller sized ones as well. I want to get one of those on there. And I have one more sequin to grab. I'll use a blue one. And that finishes up the card. Cover those up before I spill it. So, really quick, easy. Swing fold card. Again, it looks like you've put a lot of work into it, but it's a very simple card. And I appreciate you taking the time to watch me. I will be posting instructions on my blog page at www.carolcreativeescape.com. I will have those up probably by the end of the day tomorrow. And certainly appreciate the time you've taken to watch my video. Have a good night. Bye-bye.